Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Megan Roberts in Whitehorse. We begin in the Northwest Territories. James Thomas of Hay River will now serve less time in prison for his role in the death of Alex Norwegian. In 2017, Thomas and others attacked and robbed Norwegian. They left him in a damaged vehicle in freezing weather on a remote Katlodeche First Nation road. It was so cold, Norwegian died of hypothermia that night. The CBC's Nadir Hashmi reports.
Today's hearing began with Wanda Norwegian, the victim's mother. Through tears, she said it doesn't matter if the sentence is manslaughter or murder. Thomas is simply guilty of taking her son's life. And he'll now serve 11 years of manslaughter and 10 years for robbery, concurrently. His original sentence was life in prison for second-degree murder and robbery. That sentence was reduced to manslaughter by the NWT Court of Appeal in April. The Crown Prosecutor presented similar cases and sentences when arguing for reduced time, including for co-accused Levi Kyan. Kyan is currently serving an 11-year sentence for manslaughter in the death of Norwegian. Thomas's lawyer argued for less time due to his difficult childhood and addictions. But Justice Maha said in the end, Thomas was the instigator and orchestrated the robbery. With time served, Thomas will remain in prison for another 3 years. Dressed in a dark t-shirt, he appeared calm as his sentence was read out, later telling the court he's sorry for the trouble he has caused. Wanda Norwegian told CBC no sentence could justify what Thomas has done. Nadir Hashmi, CBC News, Yellowknife.
We have an update tonight on the Yukon minister who was hospitalized after a car crash. Niels Clark has been in the hospital since the incident on August 2nd, which also took the life of Yukon Deputy Environment Minister Michael Prochaska. Katrin Pilkington has the latest.
In a press release today, Yukon Cabinet Communications says Clark has been released from hospital and will continue his recovery from home. Clark was flown to Vancouver on August 2nd after the crash. He and Deputy Minister Michael Prochaska were leaving a Salmon Day celebration at McClintock Bay Resort when their truck was hit by another vehicle on the highway. In a statement issued last week, Clark was hopeful for a full recovery and thanked the community for their well wishes. John Stryker and Richard Mostyn are covering Clark's cabinet portfolios while he recovers. Briar Young was appointed interim Deputy Minister of Environment Thursday. A celebration of life for Michael Prochaska will be held in Whitehorse on August 24th. Katrin Pilkington, CBC News, Whitehorse.
Thousands of evacuees from Jasper will be allowed home on Friday. It comes 3 weeks after a wildfire forced a mass evacuation of Jasper National Park. As Madeline Smith tells us, the re-entry is only the start of what will be a daunting ordeal.
Jasper residents will be allowed to go home on Friday, but many won't be able to stay. Officials warning today that services like gas and power are still not available in some parts of the town that were hardest hit by the fire.
Unfortunately, the status of some of the critical infrastructure on the most affected part of town, the west side, are not at levels that some of you may find desirable to go back to your homes.
And even for homes that are still standing, there could be internal smoke and water damage that residents will have to assess. Still, this is the first time most Jasperites will be allowed inside their homes and businesses since a wildfire damaged almost a third of the structures in the town site almost 3 weeks ago.
Some to assess their standing structures, others sadly to have a last look perhaps at a lost structure. All of them so anxious to get back home and resume their lives.
And that fire is still out of control in Jasper National Park, but it's mostly contained in the area that's closest to the town, and that could threaten it. So as long as that doesn't change in the coming days, most people will be able to come back. But Mayor Richard Ireland sending a message today that while Jasper does need visitors to return here, now is not the time, and residents need space, time to assess the damage to their own properties and start what's going to be a long process of rebuilding. Madeline Smith, CBC News, Jasper.
Fire crews are battling a wildfire in Fort Smith NWT tonight. The NWT government issued a critical alert late this afternoon, telling residents to stay away from Axe Handle Hill, Park Drive, McDougall Road, and Pine Crescent. Water bombers are on their way and structure protection is in place, according to the alert. The town of Fort Smith says it's a small fire and that the cause is unknown at this time. An NWT research station, once devastated by wildfire, is gearing up for its grand reopening. Now, Scotty Creek has its own wildfire defense system. The CBC's Leanie Lambrink shows us what it looks like.
Sprinklers and hoses have become a permanent fixture at Scotty Creek. You can see the hose line in this drone footage running through the camp. It's part of a plan to protect the research station from wildfire. Scotty Creek, south of Fort Simpson, was almost entirely gutted 2 years ago. Researchers and the Tlidlikwe First Nation want to make sure that can't happen again. They've got someone ready to turn the system on at a moment's notice.
And on a drop of a dime, I'm on an next plane or a chopper out there. You just got to get out there, set up the gas tanks, set up the hose line to the pump, and turn on. Let it rip. And once I'm out there, the sprinkler systems will be going, and I'll be using the hose along with my PPE and stuff.
Kazon has more than 2 decades experience fighting fires. He's built a 75-foot wide fire break around the camp too. It's partially done in these shots. It's taken more than a year, but Scotty Creek is almost completely rebuilt now. It's expected to be 100% operational next year.
Looking forward to new collaborations, new partnerships, basically collecting climate change information to better effectively make decisions and engage on fixing some of the problems that we're seeing that are being caused because of climate change.
Scotty Creek's grand reopening is scheduled later this month. Kazon says there will be a fire feeding ceremony in the new arbor and lots of food. Leanie Lambrink, CBC News, Yellowknife.
People living in tents in a vacant lot in Yellowknife have been asked to move by the realtor who owns the lot. The encampment popped up within the last couple of weeks. It's located where the old YWCA used to be before it burned down. People there were told to be gone by yesterday, and then this afternoon, they were still there. Craig Strachan has been struggling to find a home in Yellowknife for the last year. He helped set up the encampment.
The biggest thing, we got winter coming up and we need proper housing. I mean, there's a shortage of housing right now in the NWT, and there's a lot more people on the streets than you actually realize. Because there is a lot of people that are couch surfing every day that you don't see out here in the evenings. I walk around here all the time and I see the people that are struggling. I mean, there is addictions and alcohol problems and mental health problems that a lot of the outer people don't see. So, I'm stepping up here, I'm taking this in my own control. I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna make it heard.
Strachan says the encampment is moving to a new downtown location today, and they're getting lots of help with the move. The lot owner and the city did not respond to the CBC's request for comment by deadline.
Does public transit really need more police officers? And so this is it.
Welcome to the Greenbelt.
It is now believed that Titan was destroyed. It makes sense that they get a larger share, or does it?
All of this, just single detached homes.
Yes.
What do we know? How is that even possible? Well, with a little bit of help, I think we can explain it.
About that with Andrew Chang. Watch free on CBC Gem.
I'm such a fan of this show.
Listen to the podcast, Q with Tom Power.
The story itself is so unbelievable.
The industry wasn't set up for me to thrive in.
The presence I feel now is not something that I believed to be possible in the past.
So many people thought I couldn't do it. They doubted me.
I felt like I ripped my whole heart out.
I didn't realize how formative 25 to 30 would be.
I have to kind of repress my own self-doubt.
You're one of my favorite interviewers, so I was pumped.
Get out of here.
Q with Tom Power. Available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is unbelievable.
The heart and soul of any city is best served on a plate.
Très bon, merci.
I have some women to tell you about. You don't know them, but you will.
Thank you for choosing Plan B.
Tell me what I need to do to save my family.
Please enter your date of travel.
can't do this anymore.
If you could go back, change things, would you do it?
This is the CFBC's largest attachment. Congratulations on making the cut.
I'm coming for you and everyone like you.
This job has one rule: follow orders.
People dream of seeing the world, but I'm here to eat it. I genuinely love you. I'm here to show you the 12 dishes that define the city.
Très bon, merci.
It was an emotional homecoming for elders in northern Labrador. Around 40 people were forced from their homes in Newtuck and Hebron in the 1950s and relocated to the south. Last month, they returned to their communities. And as Samuel Watt tells us, it brought closure for some elders.
On board these Royal Canadian Navy ships, these elders are headed for the place they once called home, some for the first time since they were evicted as children.
It's been a very healing journey for people, and really bringing out the childhood in people.
Lena Ornalik's grandparents were displaced from Hebron, so organising this trip was personal.
One thing that my grandparents never talked about with me personally was the hurt. They didn't delve into detail about it. They just talked about how Mukovic was their home now.
Around 7,500 people were relocated from Newtuck and Hebron in the late 50s without consultation. A logistical move for the provincial government to consolidate those northern communities, but a painful loss for the Inuit way of life. For years, Sarah Townley's parents didn't talk about that loss. She was just 3 months old when she was pushed out of Hebron. She's been back several times since, but every time she discovers something new.
Used to hear place names. I started going to those places. I started realizing how beautiful and vast and so much wildlife that was there.
The reunion by the new Nazi-Avut government was made possible with funding from the Arctic Inspiration Prize and the Royal Canadian Navy, who offered the ships. Sabrina Nash is the strategic planning advisor there. Her biggest takeaway from that journey to Newtuck:
just the resilience of those families and of the people, and being forced into situations that was not their decision.
Joining this reunion was a decision these elders chose to make as a step towards letting go of the past. Samuel Watt, CBC News, Iqaluit.
It's been a decade since the death of Tina Fontaine, a teenager who would become a national symbol of violence against Indigenous women and girls. The body of the 15-year-old was found in Winnipeg's Red River in August 2014. Fontaine became a catalyst for a national inquiry, and the woman who helped raise her wants Fontaine's legacy to live on. The CBC's Rosanna Hempel reports.
Everything in Thelma Favel's house reminds her of her grandniece, Tina Fontaine.
Everything, especially her room. That's where I feel so much closer to her.
The curtains in Favel's living room have been closed since the 15-year-old was killed in 2014. It stops her from looking to see if Tina is walking home.
She was so full of life, so happy.
In the last 10 years, Favel has lived through losing Tina and seeing her accused murderer be acquitted 4 years after her death.
These 10 years, last 10 years have been so hard.
Favel and her friend will host a walk and feast on Saugeen Anishinaabe Nation on Saturday in honor of all Indigenous people.
The shadows of the past are the light of tomorrow.
She'll also read a letter to Tina. August 17th is the day her body was pulled from the Red River in Winnipeg a decade ago. Her death became a catalyst for change, including the national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls.
It's important for us as a government.
Manitoba's first First Nations women in cabinet say Tina left an impactful legacy.
People are getting involved and saying, we want to be a part of this, we want to be a part of the solution.
The majority of the national inquiry's calls for justice, though, have not been completed. And the Manitoba advocate for children and youth, Sherry Gott, says all of her office's recommendations on Tina's case also aren't done.
I continue to call on government to come up with a plan for youth, particularly response for youth that are experiencing crisis in mental health and addictions.
Bernadette Smith says the provincial government is focused on the gaps and where help is needed. Manitoba does expect to release its first MMIW G2S Plus strategy this fall.
Tina Fontaine's legacy literally has saved lives. That little girl has saved lives from coast to coast to coast.
Back in Saugeen, changes are also underway. The First Nation is developing a family law to take over jurisdiction of child and family services. Favel's friend Marilyn Courchain believes the law would have made a difference for Tina.
It is a foundation of something that had to happen, that needs to happen because of what had happened to this little girl. So the people have started saying, enough's enough, we need to do this. We need to protect our children.
I held on to her for 10 long, agonizing years because when she died, part of me died also. Now she wants me to let go.
She says her letter to Tina is her way of saying goodbye.
She'll never be forgotten, but it is time to let her go.
Favel hopes to open her curtains once again, but says Tina's legacy has to live on. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The Nunavut Department of Education is still trying to address an 18% teacher vacancy rate heading into the coming school year. As of August 9th, there were still 154 teacher positions vacant across the territory, 30 in the Kitikmeot, 72 in the Kivadluk, and 52 in the Baffin region. It's an issue the department is working to address. Nunavut's Deputy Minister of Education says the solution should be to hire more Inuit teachers. She's calling for more Inuit to take Nunavut Arctic College's Northern Teacher Education Program.
So if there are anyone who are interested in becoming a teacher, please attend NTEP. We need you. We need you to stabilize the education, Inuit educators in the territory. Especially, it's so crucial because education is the cornerstone for community development. In addition to, it is the cornerstone where culture and language can be preserved.
There's also support for current student support assistants in Nunavut to become full teachers. iNews says the department has a program that will support assistants by paying them 80% of their salary throughout their NTEP studies. CBC News has learned more about the Government of Nunavut's partnership with the Embassy West Senior Living Centre in Ottawa. That's the long-term care home where Nunavut elders have been sent since 2017. TJ Deere has that story.
When Raymond Ningyuchet came home, many people celebrated. He had spent more than a year living at the Embassy West Senior Living Centre in Ottawa. His daughter, Sarah Netzer, says they had no choice but to send him there.
I didn't like how Nunavut didn't have the kind of facilities he needed, and he had to be sent to Ottawa.
As of June 3rd, 71 Nunavut elders are staying at Embassy West, according to the Department of Health. They also say Embassy West has made almost $54 million off Nunavut elders since 2017. Almost $13 million was made last year. Netzer says that money could have been put to better use.
That money would be more useful to us if they made a facility here in bigger communities or cities. I think it would be better if the money stayed within Nunavut.
The deal between the GN and Embassy West is worth about $14.5 million. CBC News acquired a copy of their contract through an access to information request, but a clause containing, quote, commercial and financial information was redacted. CBC News appealed the redaction, and Nunavut's Privacy Commissioner recommended the clause be released, but the information still wasn't provided. In a letter to a CBC News journalist, Health Minister John Main said they kept the clause redacted because the department is in contract talks with Embassy West. Main was not immediately made available for an interview. Nunavut's first long-term care facility is preparing to open in Rankin Inlet. Netzer says the new home will be a good thing.
We need to take good care of our elders. They become unable to take care of themselves. They would feel more welcome and comfortable around Inuit.
She added if her father stayed in Nunavut, he might have lived longer. TJ Deer, CBC News, Iqaluit.
A blockbuster film is shooting in Calgary this summer. It's a sequel to a popular romantic comedy, and it features two big movie stars. But as Aaron Collins explains, many Canadians don't know who they are.
The buzz on this Calgary film set, easy to see, tougher to contain.
We take pictures in an orderly manner without ruining our set.
The film's director caught off guard by the crowds.
I love the love they gave us, and how I wish I could give them what they want. Kaliwapa, Mark!
The movie Hello, Love Again is a sequel to one of the highest-grossing Filipino movies ever made.
I love you.
The original, a rom-com about a young Filipino woman working in Hong Kong trying to get to Canada.
Tutuloy na ako sa Canada, ma. Nabayaran ko na yung work permit.
I'm like representing this girl who has a lot of dreams, who wants to be more, and I think Canada is the perfect place for that.
The film features two of the Philippines' biggest stars, Catherine Bernardo and Alden Richards, following their on-screen romance all the way to Canada. Action! The latest chapter now filming and feeling the love in Calgary.
We understand the excitement that they have to see us, and then, we, as much as possible, we do the best we can to accommodate them whenever they go to their locations.
Okay, one, two. Those fans are persistent, tracking down the locations of shoots no matter how secluded. The cast's Calgary reception fueled by the city's large Filipino community.
How come this film resonates so much with Filipinos here in Calgary and across the country?
I think the story is very endearing because it tells the story of every individual who came to Canada and find a better life.
The film will wrap shooting in Alberta over the coming weeks. It's expected to be released worldwide in November. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
Over 35 artists made their way to the Yukon this weekend, all eager to take part in Cypherfest. There were flips, footwork, and freezes as dancers battled it out across a number of competitions. We stopped by to check it out.
I've seen this event grow from just being like a couple days to like a week to workshops to getting b-boys from all over the world. I've seen it change hands from like older people to who is now running it, which is a beautiful thing. I've seen it for as far as myself. I've gone from like a participant to someone who is actively doing stuff in it, performing in it, which has been amazing, like beyond my wildest dreams. I think what makes it special and unique, first of all, is that it's the one of its kind, and no one has the home court advantage here, right? There's b-boys from all over the world. Some of them it's their first time camping. It's so special because the Yukon just is such a good incubator for arts and culture, right? Because b-boying is one of those things where it's you versus yourself, right? So you can do it anywhere. So if all it needs is a spark, and it can just turn into a big flame. And the Yukon's been amazing for that, right? Some of the best opportunities that I've gotten have been in the Yukon. Breaking culture is the biggest it's ever been right now. Just today, Canada's Phil Wizard took gold. It was amazing. For the first time breaking's been in the Olympics. And while that was happening, Cypherfest was happening, we all watched it together, and we were just united as Canadian b-boys and b-girls. And I'm really excited to see what happens next year, right?
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts in Whitehorse. Have a good night.
Her particular skill set can be helpful to us.
She's a con artist.
Instead of using your talents for crime, you'll be playing on our team. I'm a cop.
You're not a cop. You have a badge?
Not yet.
A gun?
Soon.
Not ever.
I need to get off that boat and back to being a full-time detective. And you need to stay out of prison. The best way we do that is to keep our heads down and do as we're told.
90,000.
90,000.
The department will cover it, right?
No, they won't.
I was a grade 9.
Mr. Critch, you need glasses. Glasses? No, I just think the chalk is just a little soft.
One of these days, we're gonna have to grow up. But today is not that day.
I don't want us to get older either.
Son of a Critch. Watch free on CBC Gem.
We're not gonna be here forever, right? Makes me want to make some changes, maybe a big one.
Your family can't take much more.
Anyone in your life know you're doing this?
Never really a good time to stir the pot.
I did not know what my future would look like.
The industry wasn't set up for me to thrive in.
I didn't realize how formative 25 to 30 would be.
I was so excited when they said I got to do an interview with you.
Q with Tom Power. Available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
People dream of seeing the world, but I'm here to eat it. I genuinely love you. I'm here to show you the 12 dishes that define the city.
Très bon, merci.
We are calling it iPhone.
Why would anybody want a phone without a keyboard?
News you can trust, when you want, where you want. Download the free CBC News app. Watch CBC News Explore 24 hours a day for free.
Sports is life. It's clear-cut. Everything's out in the open. There's nowhere to hide. I had to prove myself more than anyone else.
You must be so proud of your son. He's gonna go pro. The sky's the limit.
There's always a winner and a loser.
You cannot reach the sky in broken cleats.
Of course, I always want to be the winner. And I did reach the sky.
Norman Kwam, the first Chinese-Canadian professional football player, still holds records to this day. He retired from the sport in 1960 and later became Lieutenant Governor of Alberta.